G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life. And today we're going to be taking a look at a Mitsubishi Colt Ralliart. Oh, hang on, no, it's a Smart Forfour Brabaus, my apologies. Underneath, it is basically the same car. I've already done a Mitsubishi Colt Ralliart and it was absolutely excellent. But today we're going to be seeing what basically the same car, but with a smart badge, a smart interior and smart styling is like.
Smart is a funny old brand. Most known for their tiny 4.2, they also found their Roadster and 4.4 to be somewhat popular, most notably in the European market. Somehow, even though I like BMWs and Hondas, I've managed to review all three notable models that Smart has made, and the two so far were both extremely compromised. The 4.2 is slow and totally impractical, so you might as well get a Jazz or a Swift, and the Roadster is fun and gets a hang of a lot of attention, but it's also very uncomfortable, cheaply built and impractical, so you might as well get an MX-5 or TT or Z4 or even a Boxster for that sort of money. But the 4.4 is quite different. Unlike the other two, it doesn't have a Mercedes engine, the room inside is borderline usable, and the styling is quite sedate by comparison.
The engine is a Mitsubishi 4G15T, a 1.5 litre turbocharged engine. It makes around 128 kilowatt or 177 horsepower, which is a pretty decent amount of power for a 1.5, and a whopping 230 newton meters of torque. It's a hair more than the Colt Ralliart came with from factory because this one has been slightly tuned by Brabus. It's paired up with a 5-speed manual transmission and power naturally is going to the front wheels. The interior has a lot of elements of Mercedes because of course Smart is owned by Mercedes, but then it also has a lot of very uniquely smart interior bits. There's almost nothing Mitsubishi to be found anywhere on the inside of this car. It's completely redone. The steering wheel is extremely unusual, has a great big growth out of here, so if you kind of hold it at like the 4 and 8 position, it just feels like a massively chunky steering wheel. And then you come up here and it's like sort of quite thin again. The gauges, I must admit, are quite cool, very similar to the Smart Roadster that I did. The center stack here has started to peel in typical old Mercedes fashion, but all of this you will find in any Mercedes from this sort of era. It's got a clock and a coolant gauge like right at the top of the dashboard, which is extremely unusual, pointed towards the driver. And it's quite weird too with these climate control knobs. Like normally you'd have separate buttons for the air conditioning, the rear demister and various other features, but with this one you actually push the entire knob in. It's far from the best built interior. Everything is very plasticky and not particularly well put together, but the transmission actually feels pretty nice. I remember the Colt Ralliart I reviewed had a terrible feeling gearbox, whereas for some reason this one actually feels like reasonably alright. It also has a full twin panoramic sunroof, a decent amount of room in the back, and a very unusual little armrest here in the middle, which folds over to become an armrest and then flips around like this to become some cup holders. How unusual. Driving the Smart Forfour Brabaus. On first impressions, it kind of drives like any other sort of small hatchback, to be honest, except for one thing. The rattles are horrendous. But if we move past that and focus on how it actually drives, I have to say it's really not half bad at all. Let's see how fast it is. Oh yeah. Goodness me. I think that's a 1.5. That is no slouch. How's the handling? Oh yeah, it's actually quite good. Really quite good actually. Probably one of the best cars I've driven around here, to be honest, because it's so light, really nimble, and with Pole Sport 5s on the front, yeah, it handles great, eh? Right down to second gear. Oh, it's fast, eh? It really pulls. I guess the only thing I don't like is the engine in typical turbo Mitsubishi fashion. Like it was the same with the Evo. It's just a very, very boring sounding engine. But Brabus has done a great job of tuning this thing to give it sporting credentials that arguably the 4.4 sort of never really had when it was new. And it makes for a really fun, very fast. Goodness me, this thing is quick, eh? For a 1.5 turbo, like this could pass as like a 2-litre turbo. I reckon the Octavia VRS that I drove earlier today feels no faster than this. This engine's much smaller. Foot down. Oh, boost kicks in. Really hard, eh? On the power, third gear. right to 7,000 RPM. Not bad at all, man. Not flipping bad at all. Look, me personally, the interior is just too rattly and cheap and plasticky for me to ever consider buying one, and it's just such an odd looking car on the outside. Like for instance, the Octavia VRS that I reviewed earlier today is just a more well-rounded car. You'd only buy this if you want something that's just a complete oddball. But if you look past, you know, all that stuff, it's got a pretty decent feeling transmission, it's got a really potent little engine, it's quick, it handles really well, good steering feel, so everything's there. So there we go, the Smart Forfour Brabaus. What a fast and deeply powerful machine it is. Cracking wee car. If you can get past the weird looks and average interior, it's a brilliant car to drive. So there we go, thanks very much for watching this episode of Cubic Car Life, and we will look forward to seeing you again next time.